Sharp warnings from Russian President Vladimir Putin's allies after a major Western security pledge on Ukraine. A Russian-aligned Ukrainian politician has now raised the spectre of a third world war over a European plan to deploy troops in Ukraine once the war with Russia ends. The pro-Kremlin Ukrainian politician, living in exile in Russia since 2022, said the move was a large-scale political provocation designed to prevent the war from ending. In comments carried by Russian state media, he warned that deploying a multinational contingent in post-war Ukraine could push the world towards a global conflict.
The declaration of intent to deploy a multilateral contingent in Ukraine after the conflict ends can be seen as nothing but a large-scale political provocation geared not to let this conflict end and thus lead the world to a third world war by creating all necessary prerequisites for that.
Well, the comments from Putin's ally came hours after a joint declaration was signed in Paris by French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The declaration outlines plans for France and the UK to establish military hubs and protected facilities across Ukraine after a peace deal with Russia. The agreement is aimed at supporting Ukraine's defensive capabilities and deterring any future Russian aggression.
This declaration of the Coalition of the Willing recognizes for the first time an operational convergence among the 35 countries that comprise the Coalition of the Willing, Ukraine and the United States of America, to build robust security guarantees.
Well, Ukraine's President Zelensky welcomed the agreement, saying the coalition had moved beyond rhetoric.
It has been determined which countries are ready to take the lead in the elements, guaranteeing security on the ground, in the sky, at sea, in restoration. It has been determined what forces are needed. It has been determined how the forces will be managed, at what levels the command there will be.
It's important that we're starting the year like this. European and American allies, side by side with President Zelensky, standing for peace. And we are closer to that goal than ever. But of course, the hardest yards are still ahead.
The Paris summit also signaled broader Western alignment. Envoys from US President Donald Trump attended the meeting, including Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. They publicly reiterated Washington's support for the new security framework and underlined the United States would play a leading role in monitoring any truce. Western leaders say the intent is to lock in Ukraine's security after the war, prevent a Russian return to force, and reassure Ukrainians that international backing will not fade once the fighting stops.
We think we're largely finished with security protocols, which are important so that the people of Ukraine know that when this ends, it ends forever.
But Moscow and its allies see the move very differently. Russian officials have long warned that any foreign troop presence in Ukraine, even after a ceasefire, would be unacceptable. So for Moscow and Russia-aligned figures, Europe's commitment to Ukraine's post-war security is not a peace guarantee, but a recipe for a third world war. For now, that view has deepened the rift between Russia and Ukraine's European allies, even as diplomatic efforts to end the war continue. The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your news? From battlefields to negotiation tables, from internet outrage to real-world injustice. Conversations everyone is having and the ones they're avoiding. It's the same show, but this new year, Firstpost America gets a new look. I'm Kerry Johnston, and this is Firstpost America.